There's going to be somebody that is doing something that's killing it in every industry. There's somebody who's killing it in real estate, somebody who's killing it in stocks, somebody who's killing it in mobile homes. We've brought on a lot of those people onto the podcast because we can show you different avenues that you can go into. But that does not mean you need to go into every single one of those avenues at one time. You need to identify, what do you care about the most? What do you see that yourself building long term? Identify that one and focus in on it. Just because a business works for somebody else does not mean that it's the business to go into.
Yo, you're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Queen here. We are back with episode 112 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Right now we still out here in Houston. I like the format that we got because we're able to travel around and see multiple different locations. How many different setups have we been into now? It's been crazy.
At least 4.
Yeah, so I love the overall setup that we got, and I love that. I'm not gonna say it. I'm doing well overall though, man. Definitely doing good. I ain't really got much that I want to expound on right now, but everything's going really good right now. I know we're gonna get into our business segment in a minute, but everything's going good personally for me. I think it's just we're really looking up to to see where, especially considering the fact that this comes out. What depends on what day we release it, because I don't know if we're gonna release it on Thanksgiving Day or the day after. But I'm just excited for this holiday season time. Very big on that right now. So excited for that for this season, and then what's to come as we move into.
Or why?
Because what we're doing right now. I was gonna say for the business segment, but
I thought it was something actually with life.
Oh no! This is life is business right now. You know how you always say it's like, if my business is going good, I'm doing good. That's a lot of my life right now is revolved around the business because I'm trying to. That is the lifeblood right now. I got to build that up in order to be able to have a life. So that's where a lot of focus is going to. So
what you mean you can't have a life if you don't have a business?
I mean, you can go back to working 9 to 5, but the business
what's the problem?
I'm good, Chief. So a lot of my time and effort has been going into the business right now, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But how about you?
No, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be out here again in Houston, of course. I do want to let y'all know to be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts for the podcast. If you are listening to this right now on Apple Podcasts, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video as well. The podcast continue to grow, and we get a lot of new listeners. And shout out to everyone that has recently found us over the past few months. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from people that have recently found the show. So, especially from TikTok and those kinds of places. Shout out to y'all, man. So, but yeah, man. As far as me, I'm doing good. I'm just it's just so crazy to think about, where I was last year at this time, and then where I am this year now. I can only imagine in 1 year. Like, dang, that's just so many things, which we're going to get into today. I'm so excited for the episode today because a lot of the things we talk about are really geared towards, recently it's been geared towards people that are in business, have a business, establish a business, and, pretty much like business coaching in a sense. I'm not a coach by any means, but I do have a business and I'm able to offer my experiences. So I think that's where a lot of our conversations have stemmed from, because we've become business owners and kind of transition from focusing primarily on real estate into the business world over the last year or so. So that's where at this point, a lot of our conversations just come from our experiences. But at the same time, a lot of people that listen to us today are newer listeners, and a lot of people that have recently found us, especially on TikTok. I know, just based on the questions we get, a lot of y'all have not actually owned a business before. You're just not discovering financial freedom. So that's what we want to kind of talk to y'all today in regards to. Everyone can gain value out of this. Some people actually, you need a business, you have a business, and you still will gain value because you haven't been applying any of this. So there's so much value for what we're going to get into today. But before we get into that, obviously we do have our business updates.
It's time. Keep them posted.
So, we are now winding down the year, of course. It is T-minus 5 weeks left in the year. Thanksgiving coming up. If not already passed when you're listening to this, then, the holiday season is approaching.
A lot, like I think I said this last episode, is that it was a calm before the storm, but a lot of work was going into like everything that was been putting together. Like you mentioned earlier, us being in business, what you learn is that a lot of things that you're going through is what a lot of other people will go through in their business if they get started with like within your field or just within business in general. They're going to go through a lot of these things like customer service, like having SOP, different things, like having just to have a business mentality. So a lot of what I've been experiencing over the past year is things that we've been documenting. I know I mentioned last week that we were also looking to continue to joint venture with more people. So like we did tap into that a couple weeks ago as far as getting more joint venture partnerships. By the time this releases, that's one thing in itself. But once this releases, I know we'll have a couple more opportunities that we've already capitalized on. But a lot of has gone into that consulting side because we did want to have something to offer as we move into this holiday season. So it's really just the timing of the seasons that's dictating our focus. But we're definitely trying to continue to push up on both ends, and that's kind of where we are at this moment. How about you?
Business has been good for me in November. I like I said last week, hired 2 new people to start, as customer service representatives, and they've been. It's just seeing their ROI on that has been great in terms of what it has done for me in terms of freeing up my time, and it's allowed me to really just focus on a lot of the higher level things that I need to do in my business. So I'm excited about that because that just means continued growth. So that has been good. And then of course with continuing to really just grow the business in terms of systematizing every day, all day. That's always what, I'm doing. Everything I'm trying to systematize. And really one thing I've been focused on was, getting my tech stack a lot more in line in terms of getting my softwares that I use in the business interconnected and, how they can kind of talk to each other to make more automations, take myself out, take people more so out of the business. Because I think using technology in your business is a great way to automate it and also make it a lot more valuable. And I think some of the things I've been doing over the last couple of weeks have been I think what I'm going to do is actually get an evaluation on my business here sometime this year. Just because I think that's something I'm going to start doing every year.
I think that was a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah, just because I think there's a few reasons I want to do that. Number one, because I want to build my business with the end in mind.
Yep.
And I don't know what that necessarily is right now, but I know I don't want to necessarily be a business owner forever. I'd rather transition to being an investor at some point. And what that means, at some point, either whether that's a liquidation or some sort of disposition in the terms of selling the business or something like that, it'll come to a point where I'm going to have to exit the business somehow. Mm-hmm. And who knows when that could be, but I want that whenever that does come, I want that to be something I've been thinking about from the beginning. Like I want to build my business for that time period. I want to build my business so that when whoever is ultimately buying it, whoever is going to be that person that's going to take control of it, I want them to be able to inherit something that is extremely, obviously profitable, but on top of that, very easy to manage and easy to scale on top of that, right? Depending on where I leave off of it. So I've been thinking so much about that. So I think getting a valuation on the business is going to help me understand every single year, okay, I'm moving in the right direction in terms of how the amount of revenue I generate creates X amount of equity in the business. Mm-hmm. So I'll do that this year, probably here in the next week or so. I'll go ahead and get set up with that. And I think also it would help me just kind of track my own net worth too, more so, because I think that's something I've been thinking a lot about. Like, obviously with the business, when you own a business and you own shares of a company, you have equity in the company, then that is a part of your net worth. Now, who knows? If your business generates a certain amount of revenue, that could be obviously that's a certain amount of equity and valuation. And to me, I mean, I could be, not that it necessarily matters right now, but I would like to know if I'm a millionaire. So, because that is just something that is going to continue to motivate me and keep me like, oh, okay, by doing this, I can gain $1 million from my net worth. By doing this, that's $10 million, right? So it kind of, it's another way for me to stay motivated. It's like, I don't know, everybody got to find what motivates them. And that's one thing that can motivate me. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. I probably will do it, actually. And then that'll probably be something I do routinely, at least annually, just to kind of track the business. It's not something everyone needs to do, but something that, if you can afford it and your business can afford it, then I recommend doing that, especially if you want to sell your business at some point. It's good to, it's kind of like tracking your own net worth and your own, your own, income and loss every month as well. So, I mean, you do it for the business, so why not track it for yourself? So, yeah, man, that's kind of how business has been. So I'm excited to end out the year, but it's gonna be really, really interesting to watch how, I'm telling you, last year, a year ago, was like life was so different, and then I can only imagine what's gonna happen in 1 year. So I'm excited about that.
I love that approach, because a lot of people never even get to that point in their business to where they're thinking of valuations in their business. Most people are just the hustlepreneur that is doing the day-to-day work of the business, but never thinking long-term as the exit strategy. Most people aren't thinking, how do I exit this business? Like, there's a lot of people who are good at starting up a business, but not a lot of people are able to execute the business and think of it long-term to say, when this business is all said and done, what is my exit?
Right.
Whether it's, am I selling this business to somebody else, like a business in a box, kind of like we talked about last week with TJ, or are they going to pass it down to their kids? Like, what is going to be the end result of your business? Because once you identify that is how you start catering all of your actions today. Because it's like that's truly starting with the end in mind. Yeah. And it's just back now you're able to say, if I'm looking to sell this business, I know you talk about this a lot anyway. If I'm going to sell this business, how am I catering everything I do today to make this business appealing to that end buyer? And that's and it's going to be good for you, because now if you're getting this valuation, it's showing you how valuable somebody would look at your business, like, and that's going to give you your own personal satisfaction. Like, okay, the things I've done today is setting me up to where whenever I sell this business, this is going to be my payout, right? Essentially. And now I can take all of that and transition into the next phase of life. I think life happens in phases. Like,
that's a fact.
Like right now, just talk about I know you hate hearing about
No, it's real though. This is real though.
Matter of fact, I really want to hit on this now, because understand that this podcast was a journey. Is a journey, and what you're showing is that from the very beginning, everything that you were doing is setting you up for this particular moment, and setting you up in this particular moment, setting you up for the next moment. Yeah. So all the way from the very beginning, what you were seeing is that we were delayed gratification, talking about house hacking, talking about driving the same car. Then you take that mentality, you use your 9-to-5 income to invest into assets or invest into starting a business. That business, now you can take that and scale it with the end in mind, saying that this business can scale to a point where I can sell it, make a big profit. I already cash flow from the business, and I made a profit from the business. Now I take that money that I made from the business. Now I can invest in long-term assets that I don't even have to that's pretty much passive income that's fully systematized, that has people that are running it. And now that is a long-term wealth building strategy. That's my retirement plan. Forget a 401k. This is my retirement plan to have long-term assets that are paying me, and I'm able to live my dream lifestyle without having to really put forth any time or effort into it. Right. That is the completion of the journey. You can go even beyond that if you wanted to, but that is what it looks like in real time. It all started from those foundational principles, though, of saying I'm gonna live below my means because I have a greater vision for where I want to go.
Yeah, and I think that it's such a good point to talk about the fact that everything it's a phase, in the sense of like, this phase right now is just the phase to kind of, obviously, escaping the 9-to-5 was the first part of that phase. Replacing your income, and then getting your business to a point where you can fund your dream lifestyle. That's also a part of the same phase in terms of business. Like the business is just a part of the phase. Like the business was never, it's never gonna be like the end all be all. Like I don't want my business to be my end all be all. Like for me, it's much more important having assets. Like the business is a huge asset, and I think obviously getting a valuation will tell you how big of an asset it is. Right, in the sense of how much equity or what is someone, I wouldn't even say what is someone willing to pay, because there's a difference between like an appraised value and a market value. Fact. So my business could have a certain appraised value. If I go to an evaluator, they can say, oh, your business is worth 1.1 million, right? But they're going strictly based off of
metrics,
the financials, profit and loss, any assets you have in the business. They're going strictly based off of that. The way someone else could see your business, they could see something you don't necessarily even see. So they could be willing to pay a certain price that they don't obviously recognize. There's a certain business model that's taken into a place, which I'm sure they account for, but like there's so many different things. Anyways, that's beyond the point. The whole thing was that it all happens in phases, and this is just the phase right now that we're kind of in. I'm not necessarily too worried about that, but right now you have to be thinking about that stuff right now in order to build it the right way. So, but yeah, that is kind of everything going on right now. So more or less the business updates. Numbers have been good. I mean, just let's yeah. I'll just say that numbers have been good for this month. So, but yeah, what I think that's a really good segue into what we want to talk about today. Thanks. Just in the sense of obviously with everything that we do. I don't know. Because sometimes I think about the people that listen to our podcast. And I always try to think about where are people at on their journey. Which phase are people at of their journey of the podcast? Are they in the business phase where they have their business and they need guidance in terms of operating a business because you've never operated a business? Or are they more so in the beginner phase in a sense of like you're still trying to figure out what business you want to use? You're still trying to learn about real estate. You're still trying to get your personal finances in order. Which phase are you at? Maybe you're even out of the business phase and you're just listening to this because you just enjoy listening to this, which is cool as well. But I think a lot of people that listen to us are in the early stages, especially as of recently. I mean, we've tripled our listenership almost, and I know a lot of those people based off of y'all coming from TikTok and other platforms. A lot of y'all are still in those early phases and in the early parts of your journey, so you don't necessarily, a lot of things we talk about, it might not be as applicable to you. So what we want to do in this episode is talk about some of the principles that are super important to actually achieving financial freedom. And I think there's 10 of them that are very well. I mean, I have a few and then you have a few that we'll talk about, and we'll just kind of touch on those. And we did an episode like this last year, actually in last September, but our perspective obviously over a year later has changed. So it's important to address these things and address it from our perspective today, because at that point in time we didn't necessarily know what we didn't know. Just like in a year from now when we do this episode again, right, it'll probably be somewhat different, probably not as different as it might have been from last year, but it will still be different. So I guess I'll go with my first one. You got it. And then we'll alternate from there. So my number one principle is going to be actually, when you're starting off on this journey to financial freedom, you must be living below your means. And I know it's cliche to say, okay, save money, live below your means, but I'm serious about this because I don't think most people understand. And I think, especially for young people, just people in general, but especially in young people, the biggest mistake that I see people make is increasing their expenses as soon as they increase their income. So for a lot of people, as soon as you graduate from college, you are buying a car, you're trying to go buy a house, you're trying to go and, pretty much go live the best life you can on the income, on the $45,000 that you make, which is nothing. And you're trying to, I don't mean it's nothing, but it's something, but like you trying to ball off of, $25 an hour, which that's hustling backwards. The worst thing that people do is buying a car. Like that's the worst thing. But even on top of that, there's people that they don't even understand that the money that they are like, I don't even know how I should approach this. I think most people don't actually realize how valuable their present dollars are today. I think people devalue present dollars in the sense of like what the opportunity cost of having those dollars. And so opportunity cost is essentially what you miss out on by doing one thing instead of another, right? So if I choose to, I don't know, if I have a test coming up and I choose to stay in and study instead of going out with my friends, obviously the opportunity cost of choosing to stay in and studying is going to be the happiness I would have got from going out with my friends, right? And so for a lot of people, when it comes to the money, you don't understand that opportunity cost is what everything. Every time you buy a $90 pair of Air Forces, every time you go out to eat, every time you spend your money on anything, you're foregoing a future opportunity that you could have had, whether that be to invest, whether that be to put into a business, a future opportunity to make another dollar. You're foregoing that. So the reason it's important to live below your means early on is because you have to take all your extra money and put it into your save to invest account or your business, right? And that's just something that a lot of people don't get. Like most people, I think when they start their business or they want to get into real estate, like you aren't necessarily committed to it, because if you were committed to it, you will be living the way I live if you was committed to it. Because for me, like, my business makes over $50,000 a month at this point, and I still am driving the same car that I've been driving since high school. I'm still living in a garage apartment. That tells me I'm committed to growing my business more so than flexing on people. Because there's much, and it don't even have to be flexing on people. Because some people, you could just generally enjoy nice things, which that's cool. Like, I generally enjoy nice things. But I know I don't enjoy them more than having financial freedom. Because I know if I still have those nice things, then if I had nice things, I would still be at my job. Continue to work to pay for those nice things. And I tell you, I would much rather have financial freedom and drive the same car from high school and live in my garage apartment than work a job and drive a BMW or Tesla and live in this nice apartment. Because at that point, I'm a slave now to the car and I'm a slave to the apartment. So keeping your expenses low is super critical to achieving financial freedom, because obviously, by definition, financial freedom is that your monthly your passive income, or your income that you make without trading your time in for it, is greater than your monthly expenses. So if my monthly expenses is $700, once I make $701, I'm now financially independent. If my monthly expenses is $5,000, now I need to make $5,001 to be financially independent. So that alone should tell you why you need to keep your expenses down if you want to achieve financial freedom. The lower they are, the sooner you will get there. So that's my first principle to actually achieving financial freedom.
No, I love that, because it really ties into my first one. You said living below your means. And I think I really wish we would listen, because I want to see what I would have said last time, but I'm almost confident that I would have said that this tied in really well to my first one, which was developing a why. Yeah. Because without having that why, or without having that foundational reasons that you're going to get started for your business, for investing, for living below your means, you're not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. Because there's a saying that says people do things for one reason and one reason only, because they feel like it. If you don't feel like living in the house with other people, like for us with house hacking, and like for me when I was in Indiana, most people don't feel like doing that. Most people don't feel like being a landlord. Most people don't feel like running a business. Most people don't feel like having to worry about all that stuff. All they want to do is enjoy their life and do whatever they want to do right now. Even though it may not be the best, they want to do it at all times. So you have to have a bigger reason beyond where you're currently at. Like, you have to have a vision for where you want to go to. Because without that vision, soon as you run into an obstacle, as soon as something happens that you that pretty much slows you down from like moving forward. And like in either one of our businesses, once somebody, like for me, for instance, with the rental cars, once somebody brings your car back and it's tore up, We had that happen twice in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Where somebody got into, one person got hit, another person bought our car back just in terrible condition overall. And what do you do when those things happen? If you don't have that mentality of knowing where you're going, as opposed to just reacting in your natural way and just like getting upset and want to cuss them out, then you're gonna have a short term stay in business and investing or like anything, because things are gonna happen. Yep. And if you don't have that why that's greater than those, you're gonna end up falling out of it. That's why most small businesses fail, because they don't know how to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like I gotta be like, your why can't be somebody else's why. Like, don't even worry about like what our why is, or what, why do we do it. Like, it's cool to know. It's like, for me, I do it because I just don't want to work for anyone and I enjoy my freedom. Like, that's my why, and that's enough to literally push me when things are trash and when things suck. So whatever is enough to push you, that's your why when things are bad enough. It could be your kids, it could be your wife, it could be whatever, then that's your why. Yep. So I think that's good. That kind of rolls into my next one, which would be the third one, which is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is a foreign term for most young people today. I would say, and by young I mean anyone under 35. I actually not most people in general. It's just a human thing, honestly. Like, most people are not able to delay gratification. Delayed gratification is putting off current desires for future gains, essentially, to put it simply. So for me, and I go back to the car example, I have resisted buying or getting a new vehicle. I really want to get a new one. I really want to get a G63. I really want to get a Tesla. But I have resisted doing that for the last few months, because I know that financial freedom was much more important. Now that I've hit financial freedom, it's kind of like, okay, now I have to kind of trick my mind again, so I don't do it quite yet, because I just, my whole thing with it is like, I know I can go ahead and get the car, I can go ahead and get the Tesla now, and it'll be paid for with passive income or whatever, and I'll be cool. Wouldn't be an issue at all. But I know it's not quite the right time, because I know there's a certain number I need to make for my business in order for me to, because I know I associate those kind of things just in my head. Like, you have to like play like, I'm literally like, you gotta treat it like Michael Jordan. Like, I have to create situations in my head in order to like get myself to do things sometimes. And it's like, in order for me to get a new car, I cannot be living where I'm living now. I mean, that's one thing that I talk about a lot, right? Like, I have to be, before I do that, I told myself I had to be living in Miami first. And I had to be living in the place I wanted. And I had to be making the certain amount of income that I wanted to make before I can actually move there and before I can get that car. I don't necessarily have to, but I do that because I know that in order for me to actually, in order for me to enjoy it the way I should enjoy it, those are the kind of, I guess you could say, qualifications, and that's the environment I've set in my head that I need to. That's what I encourage everyone to do. Like, really create like a set of parameters in your head to like trick yourself. Like, I mean, it can get extreme. Like, sometimes it's like, for me, it's like, I remember like, until I finish this task, I'm not going to eat today. Until I do this, I'm not going to. And I know that's extreme. Like, you don't have to do that. But it's like, it's a way you got to trick yourself sometimes. Like, sometimes your brain, that dopamine is very strong. You have to get yourself to do things you don't want to do by giving yourself rewards later on. That's all delayed gratification is. You're going to delay that reward for a future time so that you can reap something else. You're gonna delay that thing you want now for a future time so that you can reap something else that's greater than that, right? And I mean, you can see this just in daily life in general. It's like, you can eat the cake now and you'll enjoy it, right? And you'll get the dopamine hits. But 6 months from now, when you still got, your stomach is still hanging over your pants, you're not gonna be happy, and you're gonna be very upset about that. So that's delayed gratification, and that's something that everyone needs to understand and implement it into every aspect of your life: health, wealth, mentally, spiritual, everything. Implement that into every aspect, because that's going to be something that will save you time and time again, and it's going to make you a very well-rounded person. So I would say that's the biggest thing. Delay gratification. If there's something you want now that's going to cost you, especially if it's going to be a liability you're going to pay for monthly, wait for as long as you can before you actually buy that thing. Very important.
Yes, sir. No, delayed gratification is big, and I think episode 64 that we did with Andre Hatchett really hits on that a lot. Remember, he had said one of our favorite quotes is that passion comes on the back end for a lot of people in business, especially when you're operating a business, and that really hits on my next point. So this is point number 4 is reverse engineering your goals. If you know what the end is, and you know like what it's going to look like for you, that's going to helps a lot with delayed gratification, because of the fact that you know what your passion is about, your outcome, and not so much about what you're going through right now. So I'm willing to drive the same car I've been driving since high school. I'm willing to house hack. I'm willing to do these things because I know that my passion is not today, and it's going to be for later on. So for me, I actually wanted to add on to this. So reverse engineering your goals. So I'm still big on that. I think that's still a financial freedom principle. It's like reverse engineering, but I think what's even more important is to revisit them. So it's one thing to set a goal, but it's another thing to be conscious of that goal at all times. So like for me, that's one thing that we talked about on episode 109 was establishing that revenue goal per month. Because I know I've always been big on establishing a yearly goal, but every now and again, people like will go through life. People will go through like just like it's the same way people said like New Year's resolutions. You would set those in the beginning of the year, but a lot of people are going to fall off by month 3, month 5, month 6. And so that's why I think it's very important that you revisit those same goals. Like you need to remind yourself of why you got started. And so just as important as it is to set an initial goal, it's also important to reevaluate, is this still my goal for the end of the year? Did I do what it took this month to be on track to hit my yearly goal or my 5-year goal, whatever that goal may be? And so that's why I think that's very important, just to identify what is your ultimate, like what is your goal for the business, for instance. So you can backtrack and say, what's your goal for the year? You can figure out start thinking about what's your goal for the month to hit that goal for the year. And then let that monthly goal dictate your daily activity. That's kind of what we talked about on episode 109 was letting your revenue goal, that should be, so your monthly revenue goal should be also dictated by your yearly revenue goal. And now you can start backtrack. It's just continuously backtracks. It's what reverse engineering looks like. Establish yearly to establish your monthly to establish a weekly and a daily. And so now your daily activity is going to be calculated based on your monthly aspiration that you have for yourself. And if it's not, well, if you don't hit that target, you need to come at the end of the month and analyze your personal business, analyze your situation, whatever it may be, and figure out, do I still have the same goal that I had once before? Do I need to reevaluate my goal? Is it unrealistic? Or do I need to buckle down and just continue to push forward for that goal because I still want it? I just didn't do enough activity in order to get it.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I think that's real. That's real. So then one thing, I guess I can just go to my next one. So my next one would be, after you're living below your means, you're delaying gratification. Now, because of this, you should have a surplus of money. And so with this surplus of money, you need to be making sure that it's doing one of two things. Either it's invested somewhere, right? And by the way, if you want to achieve financial freedom, I just got to keep it on it. Like you're more than, if you want to achieve financial freedom, you work a 9-to-5 job right now, you're making a modest income. More than likely, you're not going to put $100 into Dogecoin or Shiba Inu or some other wild cryptocurrency or some other meme stock or some other, speculative investment and quickly become a millionaire. It's very unlikely. Don't count on that. Like if that's your investment strategy or your financial freedom strategy, good luck. You will probably be in your job for a very long time. So I think you need to be taking your surplus income and putting it into a business and starting a business. And the reason last year I said investing it, but I would change that to say you're putting it to start a business. Because it's one thing to invest, but like if you're investing $200 a month, $300, $400, even $500 a month. It's good, cool. You're investing, but what are you investing for? Like, are you investing $500 a month for what? Like, you're investing that into the S&P 500 for what? You're investing that into crypto for what? If you're doing it for financial freedom, that's not going to get you financial freedom at an early age, at least. It'll get you there when you're 65. And you've become, you know how they say, invest $500 a month from the age of 25 at a 7% return, and you'll be a millionaire at 65. Yes, of course, sure, I can be a millionaire at 65. Nice, thanks. But at the end of the day, we're trying to hit financial freedom at an early age. So it doesn't matter if you invest into, like, it's cool, but like, let's keep it real. You need to be putting that money into either your business or education to learn about a business. That's what that surplus income needs to go to, because you're only going to hit financial freedom more than likely through business. And that could be real estate, by the way. That could be rental properties. So that money could be going into learning about real estate, or it could be going into saving for investment for down payments for properties, right? So that's where your money needs to be going. Either education for business, education for real estate, or a business. All your surplus dollars need to go to that. And this is, again, a year ago, I would have said something differently, because a year ago, I was still putting my money into education and also my business. I didn't have the perspective I have at this point. Bro, I don't own any stocks. Like, I don't own it. No, I own cryptocurrency, but that was after now my business invests in the cryptocurrency. I didn't take the money that I was saving for my job and the difference. I didn't put that into stocks. I don't own any stocks. Stocks are cool, but that's not my thing. I prefer real estate, business, life insurance, and cryptocurrency. So now that's where my money goes. It goes into, number one, after I get it from the business, it's going either into my life insurance account, cryptocurrency, or real estate. That's it. And that's how you ultimately build wealth long term for me. I don't want to build wealth through investing in the stock market, $500 a month that I get from my job, when that $500 can go much further if I invested into learning a skill, or I invested into learning a business that can now generate more than my 9 to 5. And that now business can now fund my assets much more quickly at a much faster rate. So, and at a much higher amount. So that's honestly what people need to be doing with any surplus income, is investing it into education or business. That's it. Forget about stock market. Forget about the 401k. Forget about cryptocurrency until your business can pay for it. And that's just me keeping it real. That's just me speaking from my experiences. So,
no, that's a fact. This is why I'm glad we're doing this episode, man.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of what we learned over the past year has shaped our approach to different situations now. So that's a perfect segue into what mine was for number 3. So that's number 6 in total, is self-education. And so you talking about investing, you had to be investing into something. Like, investing into self-education was one of them that I thought was really big. And I want to add on to my own personal one, is that let go of small money. Just like you were saying, and like for one, you were talking about activity goals anyway, when it came to like just putting in $200 per month into the stock market, and then you be able to retire by 65. That's you didn't set a deadline goal. You didn't set a revenue goal for yourself. You didn't set anything that would actually yield you a tangible result. You were just setting an activity goal by saying, I'm going to invest $200, $500 per month, and that's activity. That's not any true destination. So that's why my method has changed a little bit. So as far as the self-education piece, I'm gonna say be okay with investing to get into a room, because for a lot of people, they may not have the personal, like the self driven mentality to go seek all the information out themselves. I'm just gonna use myself as an example. I know for a fact that I'm gonna utilize YouTube once I have a base structure of what I'm looking for, and I'm definitely gonna be very self-sufficient. But at the same time, a lot of people need guidance. A lot of people need to develop the business acumen as opposed to just having it innately. So I'm gonna say I'm very big advocate now of investing to get into rooms, investing to figure out, to first of all spot who's doing what you want to do. So if you see a business that you're looking to get into, identify key players in that industry. Figure out what they're doing. Either invest in just watching them or invest in learning more from them. Like whatever it is, invest time or invest money. I don't care which one it is, but you need to surround yourself with people who are doing better than you in the thing that you're trying to the thing you're trying to build, essentially.
Yeah.
Because if you don't invest into them, or if you're too stingy with the small money that you have today, it's going to just, for one, it's going to delay you anyway. But you're going to take that same mentality into the business too, and you're going to be stingy with starting to implement systems into your business because you're too stingy with the little money that you have today to grow it to something that can be a much bigger for tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. And it's a certain mentality that you have to have of letting go of the money today because you see the possibility of where it can get to once you get the right information, the right systems, the right people, etc.
I think that's huge, man, because a lot of people today look at investing in the courses or any sort of education that's not a formal education as a scam.
Facts.
It's so crazy because it's like, how can you literally invest thousands, tens of thousands, maybe possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars into a college education that's taught by professors that literally don't teach it, which by definition of a scam would be a scam. But whenever it comes to an entrepreneur that's you follow on Instagram, you look up to what they're doing, you see them on TikTok, they're teaching you, giving all this value for free. Then they say, hey, we have additional information here. If you want to get started for this cost, that's a scam. Come on now. You got the game. You got the game completely backwards, bro. Like, it's for real. Like, your mind is tainted. And that's what I think you're pretty much saying too. It's like you got to recondition your mind to look at education that's not offered by school and education that's offered by people actually doing it, real teachers, as value. You had to look at that as the way that's where. And by the way, that is a much better investment than any cryptocurrency, any stock market investment that you'll make, unless you're gonna, buy Bitcoin in 2009 at 10 cents and you can see the future. Then I would say invest in that. But if that's not your case, then invest that money into education. Don't be afraid to do that, because, by the way, with this inflationary environment and all this kind of stuff, I would much rather invest my money into something, even though it's not a direct ROI in terms of I can't necessarily measure it, at least directly. I can measure indirectly. I might not necessarily say, okay, I invest this $1,000 into this program or this course, and I can't tell how much it's going to make me, unless it's like a specific course or something that applies to a direct business. But even if it's a mindset education or something, there's an ROI because there's an investment in you. It's not necessarily a dollar ROI. Ultimately, it will be later down the line. But initially, you might not look at it like that, which I think is the issue. So I would much rather invest in that than even keeping my money safe in a bank account, because that's the worst thing you can do. So it's much better to quote unquote lose money by putting it into education. So that's, I think, a super important point. I'm glad you hit on that one. My fourth one or the eighth one, it would be, or seventh, it would be, what would it be? I think for me, I would. It's a tough one because I only have two left. I would say creating, like, because the thing is, it's not you have, once you figure out your business that you want to get into, focusing on establishing systems in the business, that's going to be the most important thing. Like, systems in your business are, again, that's something you might not see a direct return on, but like that's something that you put a lot of time and effort into up front, and later down the line, you'd be glad you did. Like I said, I put in so much effort and time into my SOPs initially that, like, now they pretty much train my people now. The SOPs train my staff, and they teach, the people how to run the business. I don't have to necessarily do that with my time. So I would say that is so important and critical to the success as a business owner. Remember, this is for financial freedom. This is not to become a millionaire. This is not to become wealthy in 10 years or 5 years. This is for financial freedom, creating systems. And regardless of whatever business or whatever you're doing, if you want financial freedom at a young age, unless you have a stock portfolio that pays you dividends and you don't literally have to do anything, if you have a business, that's not passive income.
Facts.
it's income that it might not be necessarily as active as trading your time for money necessarily. Maybe in the beginning it is. In fact, it's a lot more. But at no point it'll ever be passive income completely 100% unless you have systems in place. Systems in place are the only way that will become 100%. A business can only become passive if there's systems. I can guarantee you that the Kroc family, the guy that expanded McDonald's, Ray Kroc, they do not have to work on the business. They earn passive income. That family, they earn passive income because they have systems in place for McDonald's to operate without them, right? And that is passive income. So until your business can operate 100% without you, which, by the way, remember, your business is worthless if it can't operate without you. So that's what you want it to be, right? You're building it for the end in mind. Then you need to have systems in place that are going to be able to operate that business. Systems are essentially frameworks or rules for operating your business, standard operating procedures that people can follow on how things are done. This is done in the business this way. We do this to execute this action. We do this to get this result. It's done like this every single time, and it can be replicated by anyone. It doesn't have to be you. That is how you free yourself from the shackles of trading in time for money. Regardless, irrespective of a 9-to-5 and just business in general, that is how you free yourself from those shackles. You have to have systems in your business. I can't understate this enough. In fact, I have to overstate it because it's that important. It's that critical to your business. You need to do this from day one. Literally before you even get your first dollar in the business, you need to be creating your SOPs and your systems and outlining them. Because now what's going to happen is you're going to start to follow them a certain way. You're going to find, this doesn't necessarily work. You're going to refine it. You're going to improve it. And now the new revised framework that you now have is now going to be the set of rules for doing something in the business. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a trial and error sort of thing. Day one, you need to be establishing your systems. I don't know how many times we could say this. Probably have said it numerous times over the last, this 2021, that's probably the theme of of everything that we talked about, just because that's where we kind of have been in business. So important though. That's my number 7.
What was the title of it? Systems or focus?
The title of what?
Of that particular one.
That was systems.
That was systems. Okay, because that's one of the big ones for me is the focus piece. I'm removing one of them. So I mentioned stay consistent last year. Yeah, I'm changing that one. Focus, man, because I just think about the mentality that we had last year when we did this episode. We even had the mentality of focus before. We would have never said that.
That should have been, focus should have been higher up on the list.
Yeah. So
should have been 9th.
Yeah. So I'm just going, since you didn't take it, I'm taking it for you.
Yeah.
Focus is so critical, man. And I'm gonna tie it into staying consistent too. Because first of all, understand that, like I mentioned before with the investing piece, there's going to be somebody that is doing something that's killing it in every industry. There's somebody who's killing it in real estate, somebody who's killing it in stocks, somebody who's killing it in mobile homes. We've brought on a lot of those people onto the podcast because we can show you different avenues that you can go into. But that does not mean you need to go into every single one of those avenues at one time. You need to identify, what do you care about the most? What do you see that yourself building long term? Identify that one and focus in on it. And then also, I want everybody to hear this again. We've talked about it before. I want to say it again because some people may not have heard it. Just because a business works for somebody else does not mean that it's the business to go into. Alex talks about it all the time of what the business is doing for him. But understand that the people that he learned the cleaning business from, there's a lot of people that they also have taught. How many people are generating $50,000 a month that they have taught? It's not so much about the people it's not so much about the business. It's about the person running the business. So you need to invest into the right information, but you also have to have the mentality of being a true entrepreneur. That's why I'm tying into staying consistent. Once you experience an obstacle in your business, you have to overcome it. You cannot forward and say, "Oh, the business doesn't work for me. This business only works for that other person. It doesn't work for me. He didn't go through all this." He went through a lot of stuff. There are so many things that you will go through as an entrepreneur, and that will knock out the average everyday person. That's why the 1% is the 1% for a reason, because they are the faithful few that said that I don't care what I go through, I'm going to utilize everything that in my power to make this work. It has to work, or it has to work. That is the mentality that you have to go through. That's when I say be consistent in focusing in on that one thing, and make sure that you persevere until successful. Like, there is no other alternatives. It's not that if this business doesn't work, I'm gonna go start the rental car business, or if the rental car business doesn't work, I'm gonna start the Airbnb business. You can do that in the beginning, but once you find the one that you are dead set, like, this is the one, I just need to figure out, I need to implement the systems that Alex talked about. Once you identify that one, focus in on it, laser focus, eliminate the noise, eliminate the distractions, and laser focus in on that particular one, because that once you overcome those obstacles, that's where you're going to start to experience exponential growth. And without that focus, you would never experience that in any of your businesses.
Ooh, Marlon, what has got it into to you? Spicy, I like it.
That's my spiel on that one.
Some passion. No, that's real. I think that is man, that's such a good one. And like I said, that should have been even dang near earlier. I mean, they're all important, but like for financial freedom, which all of this is for, I would think that's probably top 3 or 4, honestly.
It's not necessarily in order of number 1 was the most important and number 10 is the least, but
I mean, if we had to rank them though,
that's up there. That's for sure.
That one's up there, because I think that's understated, just in the sense, like, I always think about the YouTube video I did about multiple, like, you need to have 7 streams of income, and there was I remember specifically saying, and by the way, this is why it's like, yo, we learning.
This is why we say this is a journey, because it is.
Literally, I made a YouTube video last year, and it was like, you need to have 7 streams of income, and I literally named out 7 different industries. I say I was convicted on this too. Facts. I say you can have, you can only have one job, but you can have multiple trucks, you can have multiple mobile homes, you can have multiple rental properties, you can have multiple, Airbnb properties, you can have multiple vending machines, you can have multiple everything. And it's just like, you can, but in the beginning, you cannot.
Man.
Because you're going to have multiple streams of work. That's what you're going to have in the beginning. And it's like TJ said it earlier when we talked to him too. He had mentioned too, it's like, yeah, I mean, he's now doing other things. Like, he's involved in other things now. But first, it was the Airbnb that got him to a point to be like, he was talking about some, and by the way, there's some deals he talked about where it's like that we didn't get to talk about on the show, unfortunately, but like, dude is doing a whole bunch of crazy deals in Houston.
Yes,
the one in particular was crazy. And it's just like, the focus is so important, man. The focus is going to be the most important thing that you can do early on. And the only thing I would say is that it's okay to try things, different things early on, because you don't know necessarily what you don't know yet. So it's okay to try things, but it's very important, like,
that's only a phase. It's not. Yeah, that doesn't last
exactly.
forever.
It can only be a few months, maybe a year of trying things. A year is even. And then, by the way, this is depending on your situation, like your personal situation. If you got kids, all that, it could be different for you. And I made a video about that too, as far as how I achieve financial freedom. Everyone's risk tolerance is different. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was able to do 15 different things. Whatever, I lost $30,000. Big deal. Whatever. Might not be like that for everyone. By the way, you will lose money trying a bunch of different things, because not everything's going to be profitable. Mm-hmm. Just keeping it real. But that's, if you want financial freedom, you have to sacrifice.
You spend tens of thousands of dollars going to school, going to college.
And not bad at eye.
That's your entrepreneurship college right there.
Yeah, man.
Testing things out, trying things out.
So that's real. So my last one will be, I don't even know. Honestly, let me think. My last principle to achieving financial freedom. Let me see. Because I'm kind of, in my head, I'm kind of ranking them. So I would say, once you've created systems, you have to pay other people to keep your time free.
That's good.
Like, there's no point in creating a business, getting financial freedom, and now if you don't have systems and you don't have you're not leveraging other people, and you don't have employees, or you're not hiring anyone, you just pretty much created another job. And if you don't necessarily have passion for that business, Like for me, I don't have passion for my business. It's cool, but generates money, but I don't have passion. My passion is more towards real estate. Like I love real estate, so I can let that business buy real estate, but I don't want to be in the day-to-day of the business. So for me, I want to hire people that are going to now operate the day-to-day, and also people that will, I mean, it's a 2-in-1 if you can hire people that are also going to be, you know, people that they can assist you in helping build the company up further. But most importantly, hiring people that will manage the day-to-day, and you can pay them, and they will operate the business based off your SOPs. They will do exactly what you need them to do because you've already created the framework. They don't have to guess. You've already experienced it. You've done it yourself because you wore multiple hats early on. Now you can pretty much give it to them and they can operate it themselves. That is what I would say is so important once you've established the business and you've got it to a point where it is at least profitable and it's making money. But now you need to free yourself from the shackles of running the day-to-day of that business so that now you can continue to scale it. So because you can't free yourself if you're working on the day-to-day. If I'm sitting here taking calls, if I'm sitting here dealing with complaints, I cannot work on establishing new locations. I cannot work on establishing new partnerships with other car owners. I can't work on those things if I'm stuck on the day-to-day of the business. I need to be inside. I need to be looking at the high level things every single day when I go to work on my business. Every single day. That needs to be my main focus, and that will not happen until you can establish systems and you also hire people. And then on top of that, by the way, you're not financially free. Well, you are financially. Technically, you can be financially free, but financial freedom means you can do your business from anywhere. Your business operates without you. That's financial freedom. Because if your business doesn't operate without you, that's just a self-employed job. It's a big difference from financial freedom. So that would be my by the way, I'm not going to elaborate on it so much because we've done episodes on it. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. But that will be my 5th principle to financial freedom.
I like that. I would say just to not really be advocate, not to play devil's advocate for you, but with the financial freedom piece, like I think we've talked about in the past where financial freedom is necessarily like replacing your job income or being able to live off of your business income, for instance, like without having to work a 9 to 5, you can survive off your business or your investments or whatever. The time, I think what you meant to say was the time freedom piece is what you need to also be pursuing. Yeah. You can have financial freedom, but not time freedom. Yeah. And by investing into people, into resources, into systems, that buys back your time. Right. And that's why I think I mentioned that last episode too, is that people may prioritize money or time. People who prioritize money typically make less of it because if they prioritize time more than money, they would be okay with investing into people, into resources, into systems, into their business. That way they can liberate their time to go create more money. Yeah. That's why people who focus on who are only concerned about the money typically make less because they have to do all the day-to-day tasks. Imagine trying to scale your business, your cleaning business, but you're just too busy cleaning houses.
I mean, by the way, I've never actually cleaned houses. But exactly. Like, he's just using an example.
Or yeah, so that is a perfect example. Like somebody will go clean the houses themselves. Or imagine trying to scale your business, but you got to keep answering those phones every day.
Yeah, that's better.
So that is removing yourself from the business, investing in the people, resources, softwares, whatever. Yeah. That way you can focus on the growth task of the business, something that's going to escalate the business to the next level. Yeah. So that was that. But my last one is something that I've really been big on this year, which was surrounding yourself with the right environment of people. And that can be involved. That can be like changing your circle. That can be creating your own circle. And I really want to hit on that part too, because a lot of people will see somebody that they look up to as a mentor and want to be in their circle. And I'm gonna advise you against that. That is your mentor. That is not your friend-tor. That is not your comrade. That's somebody that you're trying to learn from. Not necessarily somebody that's going to let you into their circle, because their circle talks differently. They're not talking about let's get you started up. They're talking about how can we grow beyond where we currently are. You have to add value to the circle for them to want you in that circle. It's like the NBA. The NBA players are going to hang out with other NBA players. They're not going to hang out with high school players. They will mentor high school players, but they're not going to be going to the clubs with you. They're not going to be just chilling at the house with you. It's a different relationship. So stop looking up to the mentor as somebody that you want to be in their circle. You can learn from them, but create your own circle and be okay with that. Because what you find out is that the reason that those mentors have their own circle is because they all started at a certain point in time. And that's why we're so big on saying, like, don't miss the train, because don't miss the train because this train is leaving. If you don't get on board when that person first started, like for us, for instance, we started back in 2018. So our journey started back then. Some people are seeing this episode in 2021 and saying, I want to be in their circle. It's a different conversation though. So I think what I hit on my third point, I talked about investing to get in those rooms. In those rooms are other people who also invested to get into that same room. Yeah. Those people that also invested, get a circle with them.
That's a fact.
Start something up with them, because you may not even have anybody from your hometown or that you grew up with that is interested in what you're interested in. But if you get into those rooms, other people are also investing into those. Yeah. And start masterminding with those people and grow from there, because they have the same mentality as you, because you were willing to invest into the right information, into the right people to up level yourself. They are like minds, and y'all can grow together. So one thing I'm really big on now is finding your circle, but not necessarily thinking that the person that is your mentor is going to be in your circle.
Yeah. Ooh, man, he's speaking heavy, because that's so real. Because I mean, it's so many people that ask and like mention like, hey, can they want to like go out for lunch, they want to take us out, they want to go, hang out, and it's like, yo, I mean, it's cool, like we can talk, converse, but like at the end of the day, you have to be adding value to each other.
Yep.
And unless you're gonna add value to what I'm doing or what you're doing, then it's a one-sided relationship.
Yes, sir.
Because why is it that every time we going out, I'm never learning from you? I'm always the one that's giving. Like it gotta be. And that's one thing too, you gotta really just look at in your relationships right now. It's like, do you think that those relationships you currently have are those the relationships that are going to take you to financial freedom? Because your environment is real. A lot of people don't understand how important it is to have it's better to have no environment than the wrong environment.
Oh, that's a fact.
Like, it's better you be off on your own than to be with the wrong people. Because at least if you're on your own, then you're left up to your own devices to fail or succeed. So you have a 50-50 chance. But if you're in the wrong environment, it's almost guaranteed you're going to fail. So that is very real, man. I'm glad you said that. I don't think you said that one last year.
I definitely didn't say that one. So I said
that was before you went to the morning meetup too.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. But I think last time I said bring somebody with you. Oh, okay. And sometimes people are not ready to come with you. So like I said about the train, your train is leaving in 2021. They may not get into 2024, but at that point, you are at a certain level where you're not going to necessarily want to converse with them every single day, because y'all not going to be able to add value to each other anymore. Right. You may be able to see them from time to time because we still going to kick it, but we're at a different level now, so it's not going to be the same type of mutualistic relationship as it once was. So that's why I was saying, that's why I changed it from necessarily saying bring somebody with you to finding the circle and then building with that circle.
Nah, because that's how we started too. Because it was like literally we was in the same place. I can only imagine if like, if I would have told you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and then you didn't read it,
that's a train leaving,
and then you didn't take any action, and I was like, I mean that, because for me it's like, I'm telling you, this is what I'm gonna do. So it's like, I'm gonna do this, and now you see me at this point. Now I make $50,000 a month for my business, whatever. I'm not. We definitely wouldn't have the same kind of relationship that we have today.
That's for sure.
It's without a fact, it wouldn't be a doubt in my mind, because it would have just been too much. And it's not a bad thing for you or for me. It's just it just is. Yeah. And it's like people have grown. Like, that's a lot of growth that happened in the last 3 years.
Facts.
And so it's like, if we still having the same conversations that we was having in 2018. Or 2017 and 2016, it's like, bro, what are we talking about? Like, I don't even really care to have this convo. I'm just doing it because we used to be cool and it's out of formality. But like, that's it. So it's like, yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. That was a really good one too. So
yes, sir.
But yeah, man, those are our 10 principles to financial freedom. So definitely take those in heed. Because those will change your life if you apply them, all of them. None of them can be skipped. Apply them all. So, yes, what we'll do now is transition to our next segment, which will be the Ask the Monopolizers.
Yes, sir. That's it.
How can I be successful? How can I follow the path that someone else has laid for me to be successful?
Ask the Monopolizers.
All right, so I'm gonna just go with one today. So we got one from Emmanuel on Instagram. Let me see what his actual ad name is. It's Oye Tunji. I think that's how you say it. So sorry if I messed it up, but he had a great question though. I love this one. He said, "Do you think a graduate degree is worth it? Do you feel like pursuing further education delayed your financial freedom journey?" I think that had to be for me because he actually was in one of my master classes a couple months ago, and he got to see, like, we told our story and everything. And just to answer your question, yes, it very much so delayed my financial freedom journey. I was saying for probably the whole second year, I said it every single day, I cannot wait to be done. I said that every single day because I knew what we were learning from the podcast. I saw all the different routes that I wanted to go that I couldn't do because I had to write thesis, I had to do homework, I had to go to class, I had to do research. All those things were slowing me down because a graduate degree versus going to grad school versus going to a 9-to-5, the time demand is way different. School is a 24-hour job that pays half the price, half the pay that the 9-to-5 did. They pay twice as much and you work half as long. So that was my experience with the 9-to-5 versus the graduate degree. And just to answer your question on what do I think it's worth it? It really depends on what your ultimate goal is, though. For me, I probably wouldn't do it again, but I was able to gain connections through going to grad school and gain different experiences. But as far as the degree itself, it wasn't as worth it for me because I don't envision myself using it long term. I can gain the connections other routes, such as the morning meetups, such as different connection groups and stuff like that. But that's my personal take on it. I probably wouldn't do it again. And if you are looking to go straight business, it's not necessary.
Yeah. And I think you hit it. And I think that question is better geared towards you since you went to grad school. But I think, just to add my 2 cents, I would say, again, it does depend on your goals. But really understand it's like it might be beneficial for you just based off of where you go, who you meet, and what it could lead to. Now, this is why you can't just take advice as one-sided. You had to really apply it to your situation and what you're going to do. But if you do want the perspective of someone, then that's understandable. But I would just say if your goal is financial freedom, it's probably not needed, especially if you want financial freedom at an early age. It's probably not needed just based off the fact, like, if you want to start a business, there's not really anything you're going to learn from an MBA or from business school or from any graduate degree. Let alone an engineering graduate degree that you're going to learn from taking a course from a real entrepreneur or even this podcast, man. Or even reading a few entrepreneurship books or business books. Like, I promise you will learn. It's like, hands down, you will learn a lot more from just learning from real people. So if your thing is you want to do it you think it's going to help you get financial freedom, no. If it's something you wanted to do for a long time, that's cool. That's understandable. If it's like a proclamation you had to fulfill for your family, something understandable. Well, be doing it for those reasons. Don't do it for the reason of I want it because it'll help me get financial freedom. Even if your thing is okay, it can help me make more at my 9-to-5, which can get me to financial freedom sooner. I still wouldn't recommend it because generally speaking, I would much rather prefer to give myself a raise by starting a business from an entrepreneur that I learned or starting a business outside of a 9-to-5 than hoping that a good degree that cost me tens of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of time will give me. Because generally the raise you can give yourself is always going to be higher than the raise that you can get from your employer. 9 times out of 10 it's going to be higher. 11 times out of 10 actually it'll be higher. So yeah, that would be my take on that. So,
and I just also want to just hit on this really, really quick. This is not financial advice. This is our personal story and our personal journey that's giving you our perspective based on what we've experienced, not necessarily financial advice. So I don't want y'all to say that, oh yeah, Marlon said don't go to grad school. That's my experience. Your experience may be completely different, but that's I'm not gonna lie about my own experiences though.
You can take it as advice from me. Alex said, "Don't go to grad school." You can take it.
Yeah, tell your mom like, "Hey, Alex told me now."
Actually, you know what's funny? Now that I think of it, someone had said, because it was a 17-year-old and he dropped out or 18. I think he was like 17, 18. He finished high school and he decided not to go to college because he listened to our podcast. And he told his mom it was because of me. And his mom told one of our family friends and she let me hear it. And I was like, yo, I didn't say that. So
hey, you heard it here first. He said it.
Now I'm saying it.
Right.
Hey, I'm keeping it 100. I mean, I got to keep it real with y'all. Come on. I really, we're transitioning from that time period where school was necessary. School's not necessary today. I hate to say it. I don't really hate to say it, but it's just a fact of the matter. Like, unless you're going to get an engineering degree, medical degree, or a law degree, or an accounting degree, that's about it. If you're getting one of those, cool. It'll give you a good 9-to-5 job salary. You can use that to leverage that into your financial freedom. That's the only reason I would advocate getting a degree. Other than that, pretty useless. Sorry, not sorry. So cool. Last,
take it or leave it.
Oh yeah. Well, so we didn't have any other questions, so that's what we'll do for today. And our last segment of the show, which will be take it or leave it.
We gave you the game. You can take it or leave it.
For me, I think the biggest takeaway from this episode. Really, I mean, I could say there was 10 of them
exactly
that you could take away, but I'm not going to do that. I would say that the biggest thing you need to understand is that from this, man, just take action. It's so generic, but like we said so many different things, but they don't matter if you don't do anything differently after you hear this. If you hear this and keep doing the same thing, if you hear us literally say, one, don't live below your means, and you continue to live above your means, you're not taking action. If you hear us say delay gratification and you continue to get instant gratification, you're not taking action. If you hear us say invest in education and you continue to invest in nonsense, you're not taking action. If you hear us say, whatever, and you're not doing it, you're not taking action. So please understand that from that perspective. Listen to the things we said and implement one of them. Please. Just take one of them. If you don't do anything, take one of them. One of them. Whichever one is the most applicable to you right now, take one of them. And that is taking action. I beg of you, please take action. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me, but I really, really want you to take action and see a difference in your life. Because I promise you, once you take action and you get results, those days of being a tire kicker will be over. So please take action. That's my financial freedom action. That's my take it or leave it.
I'm gonna say don't undervalue free information, because today is easily game changer for anybody that's looking to pursue financial freedom through business. And a lot of people will devalue it and just say, "Oh, hey, that was like great, bro. You heard Marlon, he was going in right there. You heard Al at the end, bro. That was fire." And then they'll be like, "All right, back to my I'm gonna get my leftovers from Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna keep on going about my day." Do not undervalue the information that was provided today, because this can be game changing. This can be life changing for somebody if you apply it and just to let it fuel your day-to-day activity. Yeah. That's all I got for you.
Well, there you have it. You can take it or leave it. That's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizer or IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we're out of here. You rubbing my knee?
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.